Hi there. So I'm back to get back into this inner work that I'm doing to get to the root cause of the emotions and the mindsets, beliefs and desires and things that are either essentially being repressed in the body, right? Held on to, not let go, or not allowed to be there, and then they get repressed. So like desires, for example. So I'm going to be just working with the emotional stuff today. And I'm going to be using my own method of release, which is basically just to find the feeling or identify it, find it where I feel it landing in my body, bring my breath and awareness to that sensation and just be present to it until it dissolves, releases, or whatever it's going to do. How you know with that it's with all these release techniques, actually, the thing that I notice, people notice different kinds of symptoms like yawning and like even belching and things like that as release. Inside myself, I can sometimes feel like a click inside. I can feel the sensation moving and leaving. And also it might change into a different form and bring up images or other things to release on that you haven't like got to yet, right? It's actually like bringing you deeper in. And then finally, how I know I've really gotten to the bottom of it is when a new empowering thought comes in that I didn't think before. Like it literally comes from out there in. That's to me how I know I've gotten to the bottom of it. But there's other methods. So what I find with release techniques is like the brain is funny, like it gets bored, right? So it can be like, oh, this isn't going to work, or it's almost like it'll stop you from being able to stay present to it and stay in the belief that you can stay with it and get to the bottom of it, and want to like run away or quit or just be like, oh, this isn't going to work anyways, what's the point, right? Because the mind's like that. So I like to use other release techniques as well to bring in, because it gives the mind something to do, right? Like it keeps it on its toes and entertains it while you actually do the inner work. So emotional freedom technique is something that is very popular. You can find that, on YouTube. People can guide you through it. You can get even like, I think it's an entire manual for free to learn how to do it. Some people teach it. They have it as like, some people actually are practitioners of it. They can help you do it. And then there's also TFT, which is the origination of emotional freedom technique. Although this is, I find, a bit more complicated. So if you want something easier, I would go with EFT, but this has very structured release processes in it for different types of things, different traumas, different feelings, etc. And then I also use the Sedona Method, which is requires learning like a script almost to help you to sort of almost talk to yourself and talk it out of your body. So that takes learning. These two take, to me, the most learning curve. The way I've described what I do, I feel is just intuitive. It may take, some practice to maybe be able to feel emotions in your body, but once you have it, it's just really, really easy to do. And it came to me in a moment of stress when I was in my early 20s. It just happened spontaneously. And so, yeah, I've just been using it ever since. And since then, I call it emotional yoga because I noticed that I was doing the exact same thing as I do when I'm doing yoga, and get to a point where your body feels pain or you can't go deeper into the pose. You just bring your breath and awareness to the sensation and observe, and eventually it just releases and shifts, and then you can go deeper into the pose. It's the same kind of thing with your emotions as you move them through your body. So I love these different modalities because they're easy to learn comparatively to other things. There's something you can do for yourself. You don't have to rely on somebody else to be able to facilitate this work for you. You have control of your own inner work, and there's, you don't have the obstacle like you have to get somewhere or you have to pay money for it, or, there's not enough time in a session to get to the bottom of something. You have total control over this work that you can do for yourself. So to me, this is like full on part of the path of taking your health into your own hands and the self-healing journey. So I'm going to do a time-lapse video, so you might see me, doing some of the tapping and stuff like that. And I'll be back to tell you how it went. Bye for now. So before I do the releasing work, just after coming back to the exercise, I'm just going to share with you what the emotions are that I'm working on to release. So based on what I wrote in the journal, I've pulled out some key things. So feeling alone, resistance to new people coming into my life, fear of lack of survival needs being met, letting go of my plans and letting God, letting things be easy, allowing receiving, and attracting good men. So those are the things that I will sit with, those words, those sentences, and then just allow whatever feeling comes up. So it's probably been like an hour and a half. And in that time, I didn't actually get through that much. I got to like the first feeling to release. So that's realistic. It's an example of how deep sometimes you have to dive into things to release them. So I basically made a chart, and on it, I wrote down the different feelings that I identified that I needed to release. And then I basically had another column with 1 out of 10 so I could rate the feeling so that I could compare that I've brought the energy down and released it, as well as just sort of identifying the like deeper source of the emotion. So like, is this something I'm attached to, or do I have an aversion to something? So that way I can get really like specific with what I'm releasing. So I'm going to read to you my journal exercise after doing the releasing. So I used my emotional yoga, and then I did some Sedona Method. And so in the video, like the time lapse, you'll see that I'm sitting there. It looks like I'm meditating, but actually like some of that I'm doing the Sedona Method as well, just inside my head. And then also used EFT tapping as well. So I'm going to read to you basically the insight that came while I did this work. So, all right. Okay, so I worked on releasing feeling alone. I noticed that it felt like an empty feeling in my gut. And so I was able to just like go to that place in my gut and bring my breath and awareness to the sensation and just observe it. So I did that for a while. And I also noticed that my attachment is to oneness and my aversion is to aloneness. So, you know, we're always having these different like sort of underlying experiences of attachment and aversion. Right? Because if there was no energy of attachment or energy of aversion, then we would just have what we want. So that has to be eliminated as well from our feelings and our energy body being held in our physical body. So some of the release sensations that I experience using all three of those methods are clicks and pops, which are not something you can hear outside of you, but I could feel them inside my body. Also, I feel whooshes of energy moving. And then there was also a yawn that happened in the process, which can be also a sign of release. So here's the journal exercise I followed it up with because I wanted to make sure that I didn't let go of the insights, so that I now can go back to this and read this to remind myself when this comes up again, because it's pretty much guaranteed to come up. Because, I think it's guaranteed to come up again. Although it may not come up to the same degree. Like there's a layer that I have released today, but I got from a 10 down to a 1. And I think that until I've actually manifested this desire in my life, it'll probably just keep coming up for me to be releasing on it until I get there, right? So here's the insight that I got. So the feeling of aloneness stems from a negative projection of future aloneness. So the truth is that in the moment, I'm actually not really feeling alone. I'm just in the present moment. When I'm in the present moment, I'm not feeling alone. It's when I start to project out into the future that I'll be alone forever, is when the sensation comes up of that empty feeling, like something's missing. The lack is coming from feeling like there's no significant other to share in progress or wins, etc., and no one to share burdens with, thus making them feel less heavy, right? It's like that thing in life, right? Like it's full of ups and downs and things like that. And when you're alone, you don't feel like you have someone to share excitement with who's invested in you as much as you are, and vice versa, you being invested in them. So that's just like a human experience that has so much value. And I think we could all relate to desiring. And this is why I believe that it's probably going to come up again, right? Like, I don't know that I can get it down to a 0 until I have it. But we'll see. I'll have to keep working on it. So it's actually, if I am able to get it from a 1 down to a 0, it's probably going to be in the moment when it arises again beyond a 1, right? So if I have a situation where it arises again and then the trigger is activated, that's actually the best, most effective time to release on something. Whereas right now I'm working on it when it's not as quite as active. So it actually helps to do releasing when things come up, rather than the way I'm doing it right now, which is to go digging for things. And then, because I was digging for some other reason, right? This was to find out the emotions connected to my manifestation of knee pain. So I was digging, and that's how I found it. So it's not really active in this moment, but when it comes back again and is more active, then it'll be, this work will be even more effective. Okay. So what also dropped in was that oneness with the creator, creativity, plants, and animals are always available to me at any moment. So if I want to tap into oneness, I can. Those things are always available. And as far as the significant other, that I just have to release attachment, allow divine timing, and just use this time to prepare by letting go of negative feelings in the way, to make space for the positive feelings that are on their way when I manifest this reality of having a significant other in my life. So there we go. That's as far as I got today. I'm going to end this video with that one insight, using this video as a demonstration for how to actually, once you've done the inner work and have identified the emotions that you want to release, how to do it. So I probably won't do like a video like this for like every single one. But as I get to new parts of the exercise, then I'll come back and do more of these kind of like demonstrations of how I'm processing it and doing the release work. So there we go. I hope that helps. And as you know, if you watch the previous videos, that's just like a small snippet of this exercise and the work that I did yesterday. So at this point, this is going to take me weeks to get through this. But hey, this is the thing that mostly people don't do in life. We just kind of sit at the surface and then just continue to let this stuff go on, and to allow these negative emotions and limiting belief systems and mindsets just keep on going unexamined and continuing to recreate the same experience of our lives over and over. So as much as that doesn't sound that exciting, that this may take, like, if it's going to take just one thought or one emotion is going to take, each one is going to take an afternoon, and I'm only at the beginning of the original exercise. Yeah, this could take a couple months, but it's worth it, right? Because that's what it takes to go deep, is to go and change what's going on the inside as the actual way of changing what's going on the outside. Especially important, when we keep trying everything on the outside and nothing seems to change. This is kind of the only thing that we have left to do. So there we have it. I hope that helps, and that it gives you an idea of what this looks like, and inspires you to do it for your own self. Bye for now.